going to keep me honest, maybe, if I do this. I just want to thank you personally for all that you guys do for our school district, for the teachers and staff, and most of all our students. That, to me, that's why I come to work every day. I love my kids, and I appreciate Dr. Rollins giving us this opportunity. What I am so excited today to talk to you about what I love more than anything, and that's project-based learning. Oftentimes I've heard kids through the several years say, I don't know why I have to learn this. And I think that project-based learning hits it dead on. Every day when I work on projects in my classroom, we take the core subjects, math, science, history, English, and we get to use those into what I'm doing in our projects. There's 4 basic ways that I bring, Dr. Brackett had asked me, how do I bring meaning to these, give meaning to these students on these projects? And there's 4 basic things that come to mind. And that is getting to know my kids, problem solving, collaborating with community partners, and through the use of resources. The number one thing that I believe is so essential is getting to know my kids. In the very beginning of the school year, when they come into class, I want to know about their backgrounds, what have they done, what are their activities and interests, who are they, what's their culture. And with that, we have a lot of we do a lot of brainstorming and teamwork activities in which I find my students starting to hear things that are common. There's commonalities that come about. They may like the same subjects being math or science or environmental science or medical things that come about, and that's kind of how our projects evolve. And then with those, there's teams that start to form. And then I can become the teacher that goes home and says, okay, these are the questions I need to ask them so they can start thinking the problems that arise, what environmental science, what is the air quality, what are some of the problems that we face in air quality or our water systems? And I start asking them questions and they think, I wonder what that is, and they'll start doing the research and I start facilitating. And with that, they form these teams and they understand there's problems that do exist. And then we start thinking about, okay, I really want to address this project. I want to address this problem. Who can I go to in my community? And wow, Northwest Arkansas, what a community we live in. Inventors, creators, entrepreneurs, amazing community to reach out, and who doesn't want help? And that's what I find when I call upon people and I say, or my kids say, and I give them we talk about it, and I say, here's how you address, work on your communication skills. This is what we need to do. When they call, they talk to them and say, can I visit with you about helping you with a different project problem? And most of the people are excited that kids want to help. So I connect them with community resources, and then we start looking at, okay, we come back, they visited, and they think about, here's some ideas they had, and they come together and they decide on how they want to approach it. Our classrooms are filled with amazing resources and what we don't have, and that changes rapidly with technology changing every couple of years. They have to go out and find those resources. And with that, that may be writing a grant, because that is a problem that everyone faces, I do believe, is financial issues. I don't know of anyone that doesn't have those issues. So they become where they write the grants and learn to communicate and collaborate. So some of the great projects that we've worked on has been about addressing those 4 things of getting to know our kids, addressing the problems, collaborating, working with resources. And what works is when the kids come up with the problems and the projects they want to address, the problems they want to solve, and with the resources they want to use. What doesn't work in my classroom is for me to tell the kids, this is the project you're going to do, and this is how you're going to do it. That doesn't work for me. But what I found is the enormous satisfaction of when they find value and pride of being able to take a deliverable out into the community and say, here is what I've created and developed for you. There is such pride with that, and I know that when they leave the classroom, they're going to take those skills into the colleges and to their families. They're going to see problems in their community and be proactive in addressing those issues and making a difference. I love East. I love project-based learning, and I think it makes sense because it's relevant. So thank you for your time.
Some of us had the opportunity to be in the arena that evening when you celebrated with your students your year's work in East. And I don't know that Kathy or Marcia and I have talked about it very much, but I expect they were impressed, as I was, with the confidence that has been instilled in those kids that gave them the courage or the ability to stand and share their point of view, do it honestly, do it in depth. How do you grow that skill set? Help teach us.
Well, the way that I address that is they have to have boundaries and expectations. So every 4 weeks and every 9 weeks, I ask them to tell me how they have progressed and to address and work with their community partner. And they learn. They have to get up in front of people. By October, we always say, this is the projects we're going to do. They make a public announcement, and most of them are like me. They don't get up in front of people. It's not my favorite thing to do, but once you do it, you get excited if it's something you want to do. So I have them to announce. I mean, they have to communicate and make presentations. That's part of my assessments. Some of it's formative, where I watch them and we guide them, and then it's summative. They do peer evaluations and help each other through it. But they get a lot of confidence. I have a couple of people that I have one young lady that. The first semester, I don't know that she would hide behind her computer because she was so scared that she was going to have to get up in front of people. And then when we do that as a team, and they all have their parts to play, and they know that they have each other for support and encouragement, and for me to say, yes, you can do this, I know you can, they get excited about that. And Madison was one of those young ladies you heard from that first semester, and I thought she was going to leave East. Last year at the national conference, she said, Ms. Lamb, I want to be one of your speakers. And I said, Madison, I know you can do it. She spoke in front of 2,000 people, and her and Daniel, just amazing. Her mother was there. She cried because she remembers how she was when she first got into the room. And a lot of times what I do is to find those ones that, like my Chase several years back, that used to not talk, and to get him, he was another one that spoke in front of 2,000 people. To challenge them, you can do this. Yes, you can do this. We can do it together. I will help you. And they help each other. And then just slowly it just starts occurring. So I hope that addressed the answer.
Kathy, questions?
Well, I was so honored to be at your banquet this year. And I think the most amazing part to me was when the students would get up and present their projects. And they talked about their successes, but then they also talked about the areas that they still needed to work on. And that maturity level to me, I mean, there's adults that can't stand up and say, I should have done this, I didn't do this. I can see now where, it would have been better if I had done that. And the students were amazing to me, the maturity again.
I ask them to not just talk about their success, but also what can we do better. We always debrief after every event, after everything that we do. What could we have done different? We always talked about the successes, and it's always amazing. We write those down, and we always write, well, what could we do differently, and how are we going to change that? And it's always amazing because they're like, oh, look at this. We did this well, but boy, what we could do next time. And we type them up. We put them in a folder just in case somebody else wants to take it and grow the project. I don't let them repeat a project. The only way they can repeat it is if they find a way to grow that project in a way that is going to be a stretch for them. Because there's no learning in just repetitiveness unless it's modifying it in some way. So I challenge them in that respect. And it's fun to see, when they're saying, humbly say, next time I'm going to do this different. We all grow like that. And, and I think each one of them, that's how they finally realize, yes, I do math. Yes, I do science. Yes, history is involved in all of this. And they can see the correlation that, yeah, I can do this. I can make changes. And yes, English, I'm using research. I'm writing my project plans. I'm hitting deadlines. I'm making presentations. It's just brings it all together to me, all these subjects that are around me. So it's pretty cool to see.
But to see how the students just loved you. I mean, you honestly made total connection to those students. And it was wonderful to see.
Well, to me, it's the times that I say, sometimes I'll ask them in a roundabout way, can you stay after class and help me with this? And sometimes it might because I just want to get to know them better. And once you make that connection, I'll do for them. They work really hard for me and for wherever they're at. I think one time I followed a kid to class last semester. I said, are you going to class? You need to go to class. And so I followed him, and he went to the restroom, and I met him there. But it's part of those things that he knows that I believe in him and that he needs to be in class. And yet, and just being dedicated. And at the end, you know, they come about and they say, you care, you really do care. And I think that's probably what you saw. That they, even though I'm hard and I push them and I have expectations, when it comes down to it, the reason they work so hard is because they know I care. So, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi guys, I'm Tanisha Marshall. Before I get started today, and I'm going to talk to you about the power of real world learning and how it increases engagement and student learning, I want you to write this down. There's a book called Tell Them I Built This. No, Tell Them We Built This. It's a TED Talks book, and it is incredible about the power of community involvement. And when you get education tied into the community, kids will work far harder and will take more pride in their work than if we keep them in the classroom. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. When I was young, you always have the greatest lessons came from your mother and father, right? I mean, even back before books were there, you learned from your father. You went out into the fields, you learned the hardest lessons, if it were the calluses on your hands to show you never to do that again, or that this is going to help me in the future. Those were the lessons we remembered. And when books came along and people could find those lessons in books, it's actually the experiences of hanging out with your dad in the garage or doing whatnot with your mother. Those are the things you remember. It's not from reading it in a book. It's from having an experience, from having a conversation. The thing that kills us today is even as I'm sitting there, I can find the answer to almost anything. My husband and I had a child 2 months ago, and if I went into labor before we got in the hospital, I guarantee you there's a YouTube video that is going to teach you how to bring this child into this earth. The problem is those are not the experts. Those are not always reliable. Those are not always considered knowledge. Those are just answers. They're not experiences, they're not conversations, and they're definitely not skills. That is what I'm talking about today, is the application of skills. In my class, I feel the best thing I can give a child is something they can take into the real world and actually use. They are not going to remember the definition of this or that. They are going to remember that Coach Marshall made me do that speech until I reached 3 minutes, whether I had to come 3 days in a row after school to do it. That is what they're going to remember, is that experience. Now, when we allow students to go into the real world and experience these things, they have to apply skills. See, when they're in my classroom and I give them a test, they can Google it. They can Wolfram, yeah, there you go. I use Spark Notes, come on. They can find those answers and not really have to require a lot of talent, but you put them in the world where everyone can see them, where they're exposed. They have to suddenly use skill, because you're not going to ask them a question that you can already Google on your phone. Why? You're wasting your time. Why would you search out Billy and say, hey, what is the interest rate on the market today? You just look it up. Hey, how can we solve this business problem? Because the interest rate is this, and how do we solve it? See, when we put kids in the real world situations, and we don't expect them just to memorize vocabulary, what they become are problem solvers. They become critical thinkers. Because I can ace a vocab test, but if I don't know how to apply any of that vocabulary, I'll sound like a fool. So for me, putting my kids in the real world, probably the best example is my debate team. I can throw them out there. And this is how we do it. We go out there and they said, but coach, no one's going to vote for a high school student. Good. Your case better be 20% better than theirs, because no one's going to vote for a high school kid. Suddenly, our standards are higher. When people are exposed, when I come here today, my standard has got to be higher. I'm exposed. I have to show my skills. And that is what's very important. That's what I teach my kids. Oh, they come back, oh, they cheated, and that guy was friends with that guy. I know he picked him up. And then, poise. Go home. Learn more. Be ready next time. You can't have excuses. There are so many excuses out there that we find people in their everyday life, they are struggling mainly because they refuse to see that that problems, legs, are only excuses. There is no skill, no problem solving going on. They are resting that entire problem on excuses. And we teach kids in debate that there are no excuses. It's funny, I was interviewed once and they asked me, how do you get kids to win? We're not there to go have fun. We're going there to win, and winning's fun. So in the end, we're having fun. It's just not the first priority. Real world is about giving them a reality check, too. Guys, life isn't always fair. Well, you weren't fair. You didn't give me every specific direction on this assignment. Did you come and ask me? No. Should you have done better? Yeah, maybe. Okay, thank you. We'll see you next time. Life is not always fair. And with students, I'm probably one of the toughest oral comm teachers you can get out there. I have no excuses. Oh, I get a little anxious when I speak in front of people. Ooh, this is going to be fun. Let's hope you don't pass out. What? No, you're going up there. And I'll tell you what, it's when their 3 minutes is done and they finish their speech, they come with tears and they hug me. And they said, no one has ever forced me to do that before, because they diagnosed me with anxiety. Well, awesome. You got 2 more speeches. Good luck. The next thing is, even when we look at the standards with our students, I deal with all sorts of students. You have to get through me before you get your diploma. Oral comm is a required course. You have to make it through me. And here's the thing. I am very real with those students. Oh, well, I have an IEP. I understand that. So does my son. That's great. You will get me this work, and then we'll see how it goes, and then we'll go from there. See, when I look at students who come from backgrounds that may have been struggling economically, financially, or maybe even from a learning disability, I am dyslexic and hyperactive. You have no idea how hard it is to stand here. But the thing is I look at those students as human beings. No, the standard is 7 pages. You go work, come back and find me. And they come back and they have 5, and you have no idea. They have worked so hard for those 5 pages. I'm like, awesome, you're good. Okay, let's go from here. Because I'm not starting them here. I'm starting them here. And probably the best testament to that are 2 students. One student who suffered from severe autism. Severe autism. I'm going to tell you, he gave a 6-minute speech. He did the Coke Pepsi taste test. It was awesome. And do you know how he did it? He did it through his voice box for 6 minutes with a PowerPoint. And he had us all do the test, the Pepsi Coke test. It was awesome. I refuse to have any child ever tell me they can't do this. The second best speech was a student who could barely speak English. And he went up there and he had an awesome poster, and I'm guessing it was on immigration for the most part, and I couldn't understand most of what he was saying, but he stood up there, he was in the nicest clothes he owned, his shoulders were back, and he spoke for 6 minutes. That is success. And if I would have given him a test, he would have failed. But he passed. That is what real life learning is. And if you can show kids that it's the skill that it's that experience. You will fear me for the first few days, but eventually I retract my claws. I'm not so mean, but realize, kind of like what Debbie said, these kids will love you. You see what's in them that other people don't see because they're just looking at A, B, C, D. And that's not a true test of education. And that's all I have to say.
Good job.
Any questions?
I don't even know what to say. It's like, wow. Your passion is incredible.
Thank you.
And I just, like I said, I don't even know what to say. My eyes are full of tears, and I'm just amazed at you and Debbie, just the quality of teaching staff that we have here in this district.
You know,
What you can do with your students.
it has a lot to do with sharing, because the funny thing is, this is God willing. I almost failed high school. I hated school so much. I didn't go to school to become a teacher. And when I became, my teaching profession started here in Springdale the day after, actually the day my son was born. I came and signed my papers here. And I vowed the only reason I became a teacher was because I was going to do things different. I was going to make kids like me like school and stay in school and value it. So that's where my passion comes. And plus, Dr. Rollins, he's awesome. So, and one thing I wanted to say before we leave, just because I have this chance and I didn't have a chance, our debate team went to nationals in March. And I am so proud of them. They won 32 national awards, 2 national back-to-back national titles. And, it becomes old. I never want it to become old. These kids, I had a teacher from the college in Atlanta where Martin Luther King went to school. What was that college? Where did he go to college?
Can we look it up on our computer?
Yeah, just look
Say
it up,
no.
Google it. He came up to me and he said, how do they let high school kids compete? And I said, didn't you just see how they let high school kids compete? And he was so, so impressed. They will not be competing on the college level next year, and it's such a shame. It really is. But I will tell you this, it is the biggest compliment to Har-ber and Springdale. They told me this. They fear that if they allow high school students to compete, they will not get the caliber of students that Har-ber brings. The ones with the maturity, the ethics, and the talent that Har-ber brings. And I think that is a way to go out if you're going to go out. So we're very excited for the next year. Thank you.
Good job.
Ladies, that was phenomenal. Truly inspiring. The Springdale High School has got, ladies and gentlemen of the board, you know that culture at a school is so important. And one of the biggest programs that we have to help establish the culture of academics at our school is our IB program. And to pull a master teacher out of the math classes to take on a new program probably would seem like a foolhardy thing to do. But, if you ever seen Carol Turley at a pep rally or a athletic contest, you know that she's going to put everything into it, and she has. And I'm honored to have her at Springdale High School and for the wonderful work she does there, so I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you, Mr. Jinks, for those kind words. Yes, I am energetic and excited, enthusiastic. There is no doubt about that in both arenas, academic and athletic areas. Board, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight and Dr. Rollins' invitation. IB, these young students who are in the IB diploma program are trying to earn not only their Springdale High School diploma, but an internationally recognized diploma. And why? Any 17, 18-year-old student wants to put themselves through that has boggled my mind, but I am there to encourage them, as well as their faculty. And I think that's the key to our program and to why these students want to do it. They understand we have some of the top teachers that are teaching in the program. IB has different assessments. One is the internal assessment and one is the external assessment for each course. There are 6 courses that they take for the diploma, plus they have to do theory of knowledge, and they write a research paper called an extended essay, and they also have to do creativity, action, and service component. All of these items, they are allowed to choose their topics. So that's where they find the relevance in what they're studying. And they're willing to write a 2,500-word history paper, which is part of their internal assessment for that course, or write the 4,000-word extended essay, the research project. And they are reminded that colleges, particularly those that are Ivy League, prestigious universities across the country, if they're an IB diploma candidate, they have a greater chance of being accepted, and many of our young people want to do that. They have goals and dreams. One of the things that our internal assessments teachers do to help them so that they can be successful in this rigorous program is that they go over examples of internal assessments, and they go over the rubric for that, and they discuss, they let the students analyze what that looks like and why it was scored the way it was, so then they'll have an idea. Mr. Guyton, he's our History of the Americas teacher, he does the best job of telling them, you have control over this product. No one else has control over it but you. And so this is your chance to earn as many points towards that diploma with this internal assessment. And so then they're like, oh, it's not an I gotcha. I can actually do this. So some of the other things that we do in our IB program to encourage them and help them to feel good about what they're doing, we bring back former students who give testimonials of how their work at IB at the high school level has helped them in college. Nothing is more powerful than for them to hear from a student who's been through the same process that they've been through and have been successful and have earned that college degree. We just provide a space for them to come and if they're overwhelmed. Certainly 16, 17, 18-year-olds can be overwhelmed by this process. And so I'm there as a listening ear. I think my nickname is IB Mom. So I do those things. So as a mom, I'm encouraging, but I'm also, you must get this done. This is not something you can overlook. And we also work with the students in terms of scheduling when these items are due so that we're not all trying to turn in internal assessments in the same week. That would just be too much for them. And the staff will come to me and say, you might check out what's going on with this young person. But all of this helps them to meet their rigor and the relevance to the program. So that's about what we do, and I'm the big IB cheerleader too for them. What's great is these young people have been such role models. I have 60 juniors coming into the program this year, and I've never had this many sophomores to indicate that they will want to do the program their junior year, but I have 40 of those. So it's growing. The students are beginning to understand it's effective and will be helpful for them in the long run.
You really built an amazing program.
Thank you.
Just have.
Well, I appreciate that. And I haven't done it alone. The staff has certainly been an integral part to that.
Have you found out how many have earned their diploma this last year?
I have. We had 4 of our students to earn. We have, to earn the diploma, it is a convoluted process, I have to be honest, Mr. Hutchinson. It's not just strictly points. It's how you earn those points and what categories that you earn those points. So 4 of my diploma candidates have earned the diploma. I have 3 that will probably be re-looking at trying again. That's the great part about the IB diploma program, is a student has 3 opportunities to go about that process. So when you're that close, you want to get it. Others were not as successful as I would have wanted them to be in terms of earning that diploma. But as I received an email from one of our former students, Sarah Phillips, she would tell you she didn't earn the diploma, but she was inviting me to her college graduation. And she said, remind those young people that, yes, you may not get the diploma, but that doesn't mean you're a failure. You will use those skills in college to get the degree. And that's ultimately what we're supposed to be doing, is preparing them for higher education or for the workforce. And I think we do both.
What maybe is the difference for a young person that's going to college, that is the candidate versus actually having the diploma? What does that mean?
Well, Mr. Littrell, that might mean, depending on what university they're going to, it could be scholarship opportunities. It might be that they would get certain credit hours. For example, the University of Texas. If you are a diploma recipient, and you've earned that with a score of 4 in each 6 of the courses, because there are 6 courses that the students can pick, that will give them 24 credit hours, college credit hours. So they're going to be entering them basically as a sophomore. If the university, and then if they don't earn the diploma, then they just get credit for their higher level coursework and not the standard level.
You want to go to Texas, though.
Well, amazingly enough, I have one, and I think she'll be graduating in December with her. I know, it was like a stab in my heart, as you can imagine, big Razorback fan than I am, so.
With the diploma itself, you have to get 4s or above on the 6 courses?
That would be the average, if you could do that. You can get that, plus you must also earn a certain score on the extended essay, and you must earn a certain score in the theory of knowledge course. If any of those aren't where they should be. In addition, and that's why with the 4s on those courses, you would tend to get the diploma, but you also have to have 12 points in the higher level courses and a total of 9 points in the standard level. So a lot of times students, standard level is supposed to be a weak it's a course that you're not as strong in. Just like in college, our major classes were the classes we were strong in. We might not have been strong in science, and that was our undergraduate or the core courses that we had to take. So it can be, as I said, somewhat convoluted, but and we go over that with the students, with the parents. The parents know they can contact me if there's concern. Thank you so much for supporting the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. We watch tremendous growth with our students.
Mr. Jinks, we have another wonderful teacher I want you to introduce.
I think you met this young man before. Mr. Burkett is our agriculture teacher at Springdale High School. He had the honor of being invited by the General Mills Corporation to come participate in a forum on food sciences. And as you're aware, our new food science lab is getting larger every day as far as our number of students that are enrolling in it. And it was a unique experience, and Dr. Rollins was gracious enough to allow us to invite him to come and talk a little bit about this opportunity.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jinks. Thank you, board, and thank you, Dr. Rollins. Just to give a little bit of background, I actually did get to go share some of our experiences and sit on an expert panel, which I don't consider myself an expert, so it was very humbling for them to actually invite me. But the National FFA organization has basically three kind of governing entities. If you look at the top of the little handout I gave you, we have the Council, the National Association of Agricultural Educators, and then Teach Ag, which is kind of the university division. And these three groups work together to shape agriculture across the nation, whether it be student activities, career activities, curriculum, things of that nature. And the group got together back in 2007 and formed a curriculum entity called CASE. It's Curriculum for Agricultural Science Education. It's a nonprofit entity, and their sole purpose is to gather the best educational practices, the best information, the best techniques in agriculture, and to develop a curriculum that they can distribute that actually aligns with Common Core, some of the STEM principles, and get that into agricultural classrooms. So instead of just being the ag department, we're teaching innovative approaches to agriculture. They actually invited me to come along because of the folks that came and toured our facilities, and I want to thank Dr. Rollins and board members, particularly those of you that have really touted on our program, and the community members, more specifically the company partners and our state partners, because these folks have talked about our program, they've talked about our facility, and they got the attention of the leading experts in food science. This convened at General Mills headquarters in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and actually Mr. Van Bever and I shared a flight one morning to O'Hare en route there, so we got to visit one morning. But we actually sat down, and what was interesting is I think I was the only guy there without a PhD. So I sat with all these leading scientists, whether it was a food chemist or what was cool, several sidebars, but I got the vice president of Simplot. He's their research technologist, and they produce about 30% of McDonald's fries across the world. They have a plant in Memphis, and he actually is going to be there in October, but he's going to take a 3-day tour and he's going to come over, and he actually wants to guest lecture for a couple of my classes. So the partnerships we built, I got to sit down with and have dinner and several discussions with two of the textbook authors that we use in the classroom. One's an automated source, and one's an actual textbook author. And what we did is we sat down and we developed a curriculum for food science and technology that could be rolled out as a program of study for high schools across the nation. And what was really cool, and I'm very humble in sharing this, but I'm so proud of our district because the model we put together is kind of what the meeting shifted toward. So they've seen all these great ideas, and I said, well, guys, I would really like to share what we've done and share our facilities. And I brought along some of our information, the curriculum that we've worked on, and they were actually blown away. Rutgers University, the director of the Research Experimentation Center, she said that they had just recently built a facility, and the facility we have for high school students surpasses that. And they're actually getting folks going in the industry, whether it be food processing, food companies. They're working with new branded products, and so it was really cool to share that experience. From that, though, has come, a lot of inquiries about our program. So I foresee in the future we're having a lot of folks, not only from post-secondary, from the Council, National Association of Agriculture, National FFA. We're going to have some industry folks come here and seek out our school district for, students as a recruiting source. They also want to come see what we're doing. So it's really cool to take a program that was in conception in 2008, roll it out this past school year. We have a lot of student buy-in, a lot of community buy-in, and now we've got folks on the national stage, bless you, coming in and wanting to see our program and to ask for input. So it's very humbling to myself. From that also came Dr. Fletcher. He's our state program advisor for agricultural education here in Arkansas, and he also serves on the council and several national boards. He and I were actually invited to the National Association of Agriculture Educators National Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada in December, and he and I will be actually presenting the process and presenting the curriculum that we worked on to the National Association of Agriculture Educators. And this was by invitation only, so I really see that as an honor for our school district, for Dr. Fletcher and I to actually go provide this conference ourselves. And we'll be presenting with some of the world's leading research analysts, scientists, some of the philosophers in educational, theory. So it's really, really cool. Some other brief achievements. We recently attended the Arkansas FFA convention. Springdale FFA for the third year running has received the National Superior Chapter Award for our involvement in agricultural activities, community involvement, and our student achievement. We also won the Arkansas Chapter Challenges, where we made community contacts and actually got farmers and folks involved in agriculture to vote for our program. And we won that again for the state of Arkansas, which pays for our convention registration, which we'll be attending the National FFA Convention this year in October. Some other small things, we've really pushed forward with community involvement. And I hate to take up a ton of your time, but we're so active, and I'm proud of our kids' work, is we've recently built a lot of additional community partnerships. And one of our biggest one is revolved around a hit and miss ice cream maker. And I don't know if you guys were at the rodeo and seen our hit and miss ice cream maker, but it's a Poppin' Johnny. It's an old hit and miss. It's a 1928 ice cream maker. And we've actually just started going around and trying to get engaged in community events and providing ice cream for whatever it may be for free, just to get our name out there and become more involved in community, to gather partnerships. And we've served with several different groups. Most recently, we served as an open house for the banking industry in Northwest Arkansas as it surrounds farm loans. And we did a little open house out in Gravett. And what was really cool is to actually work with all these folks that are involved in the poultry industry, the beef industry, you know, whatever industry it may be around, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, and to actually provide these guys just a small token and let the kids interact with these folks. Out of that, we actually got 2 high school students jobs in agriculture, which is something that's becoming harder and harder to do these days. So that's really exciting for us. We're actually going to make ice cream for our teachers at the beginning of the school year. If you guys want to swing by one day, I could get that information to you. Or we will be at the Washington County Fair, and we do not sell ice cream. We do provide it free. So I'd encourage you guys to come out. It's just one of our goodwill building things of our FFA chapter. So appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, yes, sir.
Are you allowed to give this away at the fair without any kind of health department?
We have actually built partnerships with the health department. And since we're a nonprofit entity, in addition, I've actually had a lot of training with the health department, USDA, HACCP, through our safe handling practices. We're actually exempt, but we can still buy a $5 permit, and we do that on the day of our event, and we're able to serve for the public through the health department. So it's really cool, and they love our ice cream. So
Everybody likes ice cream.
absolutely, it's just a good conversation piece. So.
Do you have your fair dates yet, or?
Yes, ma'am, and I don't know the specific dates. I will get that to you. It is the last full week of August. I do believe show day is on August 26th, but please don't quote me on that. I will get that to you. I can send that to Miss Newman and have her forward that on.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
We'd love to have you at the fair. That is coming up. We're getting broilers in the morning from the county extension office. We'll distribute broilers. We've got goats, cattle. Mr. Jinks is coming out with us in a few days. If you guys would ever like to go do home visits, we do over 100 home visits this summer. It's a lot of fun. We took Mr. Weston, one of our assistant principals, out a few weeks ago. We trimmed some goat hooves, you know, we groomed some cattle, wing banded, you know, vaccinated some turkeys. So it's a really interesting job, and you know, it's not a job. It's just really cool. I appreciate it. It's truly an honor for me to serve in this district. I really, really enjoy it, and thank you guys.
How does a city kid get involved in these programs?
You know, we have really worked with that, and I've actually developed a partnership with our city planner and our city code enforcer. He was actually a former FFA student. So one of the best ways we can do that is there's several animals that are classified as companion animals that are still qualified to go to the fair. Obviously, dogs are very easy, but rabbits and goats are also considered companion animals, and we can also slip in pigs occasionally. But we have, through approval of our gracious folks at the city, been able to have hens before. Roosters are generally not accepted, though.
And this is something you can do in your backyard?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Rabbits are awesome. Goats are awesome also. And believe it or not, we've had a huge goat following. And if you ever get a chance, I could take you. We have one of the largest goat ranchers actually the largest in Arkansas. He has got Dolph Mars. His children came through our program. We went out a few weeks ago, and he donates goats every year in addition to various other farmers. He's got over 1,000 goats, and it is truly amazing to see 1,000 goats come across, you know, a 100-acre field. It's mind-boggling, but it's pretty interesting and very difficult. If you take 5 girls out to pick out a goat and you've got 300 babies running around, this is the prettiest one, that's the prettiest one. So it was a 6-hour process. So anyway.
Well, Mr. Jenks and Dr. Jones, we're all neighbors, so maybe we ought to go together and get a goat. We could take our turns.
Absolutely. I can fix you up.
Keep your yard cleaned up.
They're awful fun.
They are fun, and kids love them. And I have one young lady, I had a parent call just last evening. She was very disappointed because the young lady had grown attached to the goat, and she had actually caught the young lady with the goat in the house in her bed for the second night in a row. She said, "How can I get this?" I said, "Ma'am, I can provide all the advice in the world on, goat matters, but I cannot, give you advice on how to get your daughter to keep the goat out of the house." So we actually had a young man try to take one on a bus a few years ago.
I do remember that.
You never captured a rabbit. That was an exciting story.
Let me ask, Chad, if you'll stand here in front.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Lamb, Ms. Marshall, Ms. Turley, if you just stand, let me just say this to y'all in the most genuine way. We ask ourselves constantly what educational excellence looks like. Thank you for showing us this evening. We appreciate you.